Yeah, so Synthesis of Yoga, Chapter 4, The Perfection of the Mental Being. The fundamental idea of a yoga of self-perfection must be, under these conditions, a reversal of the present relations of the soul of man to his mental, vital, and physical nature. Man is at present a partly self-conscious soul of subject to and limited by mind, subject to and limited by mind, life, and body, who has to become an entirely self-conscious soul master of his mind, life, and body, not limited by their claims and demands. A perfect self-conscious soul would be superior to and a free possessor of its instruments. This effort of man to be master of his own being has been the sense of a larger part of his past spiritual, intellectual, and moral striving. This is so funny. There are times when life feels like hard, right? Or a struggle, or the everyday chatter seems endless. And yet, Abhi, we have not even started fighting the right battles. When we look at the problems of our life, when we talk to people, it's relationships, it's, I don't know, some trauma, some finances, some, I don't know, petty ego issues. And उसमें लाइफ ऐसे लगती है कि ओहो, why were we born, why was the world created, right? We often say कि जरूरत क्या थी. And yet here it is that the purpose is that I am the slave and I have to be the master. Okay? The right fight has hardly been started even, and even before that I feel exhausted and done. So maybe that is why I feel exhausted and done, because I'm fighting the wrong battle, है ना? Yeah.
There was somebody who, time to time, we connect if he wants to connect somewhere in India only. And today he just called up and he was just like too much bothered about the mind games, too much bothered. And he said that, "Matlab, what do I do with this mind? What do I do? I'm trying to convince it, but it doesn't get convinced. And the right work is right in front of it, but still ध्यान नहीं लगता." So I, for a long time, like for 20-25 minutes, he was sharing whatever he is going through. And of course, I had no plan. What do I say? I hadn't thought anything. But then I actually lashed out at him. And maybe that's what he needed. मैंने कहा मतलब प्रॉब्लम क्या है? काम तुम्हारे सामने पड़ा है, या तो कि काम नहीं है। काम तुम्हारे सामने पड़ा है, मन और मूड गया साइड पे। आपका काम आपके सामने है, आप चुपचाप, चाहे मन कितने भी उछाले मारा, वो आप, इट्स जस्ट लाइक अ स्पाइडर ऑन योर इन योर रूम, यू हार्डली notice it, it's just there. So just like that, put the mind aside, whether it is wanting to do the work, not wanting to do the work. अब आप बार बार उसको ट्राई करोगे कन्विंस कराने की कि प्लीज कन्विंस हो जा, अच्छा काम है, कर लेते हैं, तो फिर तो लगे रहो, so I just lashed out and then he said thank you. So as if he wanted that thrashing, कि मतलब ये माजरा क्या है, मतलब क्या लगा रखा है, गोल 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 गोल. So the only thing which is required of me is, when the right work is in front of me, I'm able to concentrate, keeping the mind aside, moods aside, wanting or not wanting aside, and then I consoled him. मैंने कहा जो आपकी ये प्रॉब्लम है वो सिर्फ आपकी प्रॉब्लम थोड़ी ना है, मतलब ये मत सोचो कि you are alone in this battle. Oh my God, I am the sufferer. All of us are suffering, billions of us, same problem, that the mind is not under our control. And the same thing, that effort of man to be master of his own being. मतलब मूड क्या है उसके सामने जो आपको पता है कि नहीं ये करना है, नींद भी क्या है उसके सामने. क्या है उसके सामने, शादी रिलेशन कुछ भी नहीं है, मतलब दैट काइंड ऑफ inspirational life can be led, have people have led, where in the front of right work nothing came, nothing. मन कर रहा है, नहीं मन कर रहा है बैटल पे जाने का, कौन क्या कहेगा, बीवी क्या कहेगी, बच्चे क्या कहेंगे, बच्चों का क्या होगा, अगर ये बुद्धा सोचते तो बुद्धा कहाँ बन पाते. So when the right work is in front, to be able to pursue that right work, what you were talking about, this time about sincerity, if only one can be that sincere. Yeah. So अभी क्या है, अभी reversal of the present relations of the soul of man to his mental, vital and physical nature. अभी the soul consciousness is in the background. It is directing the play, but it is directing from the background. मतलब कोई उसकी बात सुनता नहीं है. Nobody cares about soul consciousness. And in Savitri we have this visual which Aurobindo gives us, where as if the soul consciousness is like a beggar on the street. People are driving to work or wherever, but nobody really hardly notices, and feeling alienated ki what am I doing here, nobody gives attention. So like that kind of a state right now, and mind is its own master, vital does its own dominion, physical to apna physical hai hi. So this reversal has to happen where soul becomes the king, consciously the king, and under its command the mental is ready to work, the vital obeys, and the physical also listens. Reversal. This is also very nice. मतलब अभी तो हमको ऐसा फोर्स फील होता है ना, मतलब एज इफ वी फील द फोर्स ऑफ चैटर ऑफ द माइंड एंड द फोर्स ऑफ द वाइटल, ना कि इतना ज़बरदस्त मूड हुआ कि आप चाहते तो थे कि अच्छे से बात कर पाए, लेकिन आप कर नहीं पाए, है ना, द वेग ऑफ द फोर्स ऑफ नेचर ऑफ वाइटल इमोशन, है ना. सो नॉट लिमिटेड बाय देयर क्लेम्स एंड डिमांड्स, a perfect self-conscious soul would be superior to and a free possessor. मतलब उनका से नहीं है, द सोल कॉन्शियसनेस हैज द से. ये नहीं कि क्योंकि मूड नहीं कर रहा था इसलिए मैंने नहीं किया, मतलब वो दैट डजंट कम इनटू पिक्चर. और क्योंकि आई वाज नॉट कन्विंस्ड इन माय माइंड, so that would be the claim and the demand of the mental, that whatever I think of a particular situation or think about a particular person, because my reason did not make sense, so I did not make the step. This is the reason that we give, because it was not making sense. तो अब वहां वो वाली बात भी नहीं, that also is not there. Free possessor of its instruments. Yeah, anything? No.
Yeah, I was also, before you started, looking at the word free. The abhi, it feels like there are super rowdy, immature, angry, stubborn children that the one who knows, a parent, probably just saying it for example, is trying to convince them into something. So the possession is not free. They have their mind. They are defiant. कभी कभी मान जाते हैं, कभी कभी डिफाई कर देते हैं, बट दे आर नॉट कंसर्न कि मेरा हित किस में है ना. बट देर इज दिस पेरेंट हु फील्स कि नो, यू मस्ट डू दिस, यू मस्ट डू दिस, धीरे 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 ही इज जेलिंग देम देयर, एंड येट उनकी एनर्जीज उस डायरेक्शन में है ही नहीं. दे आर लीस्ट बॉदर्ड. So that free possessor is a very big thing, right? कि कह दिया and it's done, right? Like I possess, so I have 100% right. It's a small child, right? He's so enamored in love, in total, I don't know, surrender ही होता है कि यहाँ चलो वहां चलो, या उठा के ही ले गए, है ना, जहाँ जाना है उसके कोई है ही नहीं, जो खिलाना है खिला दिया मोस्टली. Interesting.
एंड आई थिंक यहाँ पे वो आती है बिकॉज दैट डिसएंटेंगलमेंट ऑफ द विटनेसिंग एस्पेक्ट फ्रॉम द मूवमेंट्स ऑफ प्रकृति है ना. वाई द सोल कॉन्शियसनेस राइट नाउ इज not a free possessor of mental, vital, physical, because most of the time I live identified as the mental, vital, physical. तो कन्विक्शन ही नहीं है. वो मुझे लगता है ये तो मेरी डिजायर है, तो मेरी डिमांड है, अरे ये तो मुझे चाहिए, मतलब मेरा मूड. सो आइडेंटिफाई व्हेन दैट डिसएंटेंगलमेंट हैपेंस टू अ गुड एक्सटेंट, that I know myself as this consciousness and not the movement of Prakriti. Now, more and more this disentanglement happens in each and every moment of life. Then that free possession slowly can arrive. That control can arrive. But उससे पहले तो bits and pieces में I know that I have control, but then I am again, oh ये तो मेरा मूड है, अच्छा यही तो चाहिए मुझे. सो फिर वो स्ट्रेंथ कैसे आए, कन्विक्शन कैसे आई दैट यस दिस इज वेयर द माइंड शुड गो, दिस इज वेयर द वाइटल शुड गो.
Could I move further? In order to be possessor of his being with any complete reality of freedom and mastery, man must find out his highest self, the real man or highest Purusha in him, which is free and master in its own inalienable power. He must cease to be the mental, vital, physical ego, for that is always the creation, instrument, and subject of mental, vital, physical nature. This ego is not his real self, but an instrumentation of nature by which it has developed a sense of limited and separate individual being in mind, life, and body. By this instrumentation, he acts as if he were a separate existence in the material universe. Nature has evolved certain habitual limiting conditions under which that action takes place. Self-identification of the soul with the ego is the means by which she induces the soul to consent to this action and accept these habitual limiting conditions. While the identification lasts, there is self-imprisonment in this habitual, round and narrow action, and until it is transcended, there can be no free use by the soul of its individual living, much less a real self exceeding. For this reason, and should I stop?
Yeah, maybe it's very little. You can
Yeah.
complete.
For this reason, an essential movement of the yoga is to draw back from the outward ego sense by which we are identified with the action of mind, life, and body and live inwardly in the soul. The liberation from an externalized ego sense is the first step towards the soul's freedom and mastery.
No, ये सावित्री में if you remember, I'm just trying to find it out. You remember जब हम वो पढ़ रहे थे, it was how the Purusha has accepted that back role, है ना, backstage supernumerary वो वाला ना. Yeah. ले लेते हैं क्योंकि this it's just exactly that thing. वो भी था in the what, as if कि because this consent has been given, the sanction has been given, it is through prakriti that he gains stature. So वही हम पढ़ रहे थे अभी, that identification with the ego sense, that I am the thought, I am the feeling, I am the body, that is a like a pact that has been signed, because through that ripening through life experiences, one gains such a stature that okay, now I can step back, and then he comes to conscious power. So it's like as if this is the design. वो यहाँ पे कहीं mention था, maybe I'm not finding the exact one, but yeah. He knows her only, he has forgotten himself.
Yeah, even before this, right?
Yeah.
Like he too wears a diminished godhead here. He has forsaken his omnipotence.
Yes, yes. हाँ, तो अब वो प्रकृति को फर्स्ट हैंड मिल गया, अब दैट यू आर द वन, आई हैव फॉरगॉटन माई सेल्फ, through you I will gain stature. So that's what happens, no? All these life experiences, slowly, slowly, this lifetime, next lifetime, one ripens enough that okay, now I am ready to disentangle that witnessing Purusha from the movement on Prakriti.
Yeah.
ये देखो, he speaks no words or hides behind the wings. He takes birth in her world, waits on her will. The fluctuating chance turns of her mood works out her meaning. She seems not to know. तो ऐसा लगता है that प्रकृति के जैसे random movement चल रहे हैं, but it's just a facade.
Yeah.
There is a knowing there, and serves her secret purpose in long time. Although possessor of earth and heavens, he leaves to her the cosmic management. ये मदर श्री अरबिंदो की देवी, I think, and watches all the witness of her scene, the supernumerary on her stage. Yeah, so just wanted to share this one. His
You also
breast,
like this, na? The two who are one. The two who are one.
yeah, yeah. Happy inert, he lies beneath her feet. अब देखो ना, जब जब हम बात कर रहे हैं, when I'm looking at a thought, the only thing that I look at is the thought. है ना, वो सेंटर स्टेज ऑक्यूपाई करती है मेरी लाइफ में कि थॉट का कंटेंट क्या है. Very late we get to know that oh, there is an awareness with which I become aware of the thought. That is also there. All the focus is on the thought, on the thought, on the feeling, on the mood, on the pain. So movement पे सारा ध्यान है, content of movement पे सारा ध्यान है. And that awareness, the consciousness with which I become aware of pain, content, or the feeling, the thought, usko as if that's taken for granted. His soul silent supports the world and her, or without that consciousness, of course I can't become aware of what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yes, this one also, happy inert he lies beneath her feet. मतलब happily inert. Okay?
Yeah. And this image, वो जो शिवा lies beneath image of Kali. तो वो मैं बचपन से मैं काफी सोचती थी, मैंने कहा ये क्या चक्कर है, राक्षस होना चाहिए यहाँ पे, शिवजी तो नहीं होने चाहिए.
And now you look at the observation that I might have also seen that picture. I don't know. But till you pointed it out, I never saw it was Shiva. Because I think I've seen more pictures of Rakshas than Shiva. So when I saw that image, my mind just put Shiva like just there. I never noticed it.
Yeah.
it's so strange
एक्चुअली वो
what we
इमेज,
see.
हाँ,
हाँ,
वो भी पूरी तरह से हाँ नहीं
नहीं
देखते,
दिखती
सही कह रहे हो।
मतलब. And these days more and more is this is coming to me. Once you remember in the transcript I shared with you कि when I went to proof check because काफी time हो गया था, I was surprised at what I had written, like 4 5 big words. I just assumed कि
हम्म
बोला कुछ और है और मैंने बस कुछ और वर्ड लिख दिए.
हम्म
जैसे अगर मतलब इतना डिफरेंस नहीं था, and yet it wasn't what was being said. And since then, I'm observing that when somebody is reading, if I would be reading that word, oh, because of this, I would say something else.
हम्म
कि अगर ट्रांस देख लिया तो ट्रांसीडेंटल बोल दिया, चाहे ट्रांसीडेंडेंट था, मतलब small small
हम्म
things but not fully there. That means I'm
ट्रू
not here, right?
ट्रू
And I'm observing more mistakes when others are reading,
ट्रू,
because पहले I would also jump with them after half a word.
हाँ हाँ हाँ, कि हाँ हमें तो
And
पता है ये वाला है,
talking,
हाँ हाँ
हाँ ये तो यही है मतलब. I'm so eager to jump कि I'm not
हम्म
even present to what I'm reading.
हम्म
Like, I would not have believed it if somebody would have told me. I
हम्म
would have said, तेरे साथ होता होगा.
हम्म
I'm a very good reader.
हम्म हम्म
So just this blindness,
हम्म
because again, this not, हम कहीं fully है ही नहीं. मतलब देख भी गलत रहे हैं. I mean, this is huge, right? If I'm looking at a picture of Kali with Shiva, I'm not even wondering क्या हो रहा है, because मेरे को वहाँ डेविल ही दिख रहा है. बिकॉज मैंने उधर डेविल ही देखा है, तो बहुत वेकअप कॉल है ये कि मैं देख क्या रही हूँ. मतलब the eyes that I so protect and whatever see the world with, so this reflects कि मैं बाहर भी और क्या देख रही होंगी, है ना. Just my images of what I'm used to seeing, I see. I don't see what's in front of me.
I think
Again,
little kids are very good, because little kids again वो जैसे जैसे बड़े होते हैं तो फिर वो पर्दे शुरू हो जाते हैं, बट दे हैव मच इनोसेंस है ना, अभी तक वो लेयर्स ऑफ बिलीव्स एंड पैटर्न्स नहीं है छोटे बच्चे, तो जब वो देखते हैं तो वो देखते हैं, वो वो ये नहीं रिलेट नहीं कर रहे होते कि अच्छा ये तो मैंने पढ़ा हुआ है।
and I think that is why there is that wonder in their lives, there's magic and
दैट लेट
wonder.
मी सी, लेट मी
हाँ,
सी,
let
और
me
हमें लगता है
see.
अरे आई नो,
But
देखना क्या है। ट्रू ट्रू, वेरी ट्रू। ठीक है, तो ये शुरू से ले लेते हैं थोड़ा सा। हाँ, तो अभी हमने पढ़ा रिगार्डिंग दैट नीड ऑफ मास्टरी ओवर अवर बीइंग, इन ऑर्डर टू बी पोजेसर ऑफ हिज बीइंग विद एनी कंप्लीट रियलिटी of freedom and mastery, man must find out his highest self, the real man or highest Purusha in him. And this is what we were discussing, that disentanglement. So at least one stabilizes oneself in the witnessing Purusha stand, mental Purusha, vital Purusha, the stance of witness, which is free and master in its own inalienable power. एज इफ दैट कॉन्शियसनेस, वो जो हम उसकी बात करते हैं ना चित शक्ति की, दैट कॉन्शियसनेस itself is coupled with power. So when I'm taking more and more, stabilizing myself as the witnessing consciousness, it is empowering me by default because it's inalienable power. The power can't be separated from that. He must cease to be the mental, vital, physical ego, for that is always the creation, instrument, and subject of mental, vital, physical nature. So, my beliefs, my feelings, my desires, my body, so usse ek dissociation is required. He must cease to be, that identification now has to let go of. This ego is not his real self, but an instrumentation of nature by which it has developed a sense of limited and separate individual being in life, mind, life, and body. So, again, the need for that identification the need for being the physical, mental, vital ego, so that I know myself as this mental, vital, physical being. सो दैट अब वही जो हम बात कर रहे थे कि अगर मुझे पता ही नहीं है कि ये मेरी बॉडी है, तो वाई वुड आई टेक केयर ऑफ इट? क्यों साफ रखूंगी, क्यों माइंड को साफ रखूंगी, क्यों फीलिंग्स को साफ रखूंगी? सो फर्स्ट दैट डिस्टिंक्शन हैज टू बी क्रिएटेड, दैट ओके दिस इज मी, instrumentation of nature by which it has developed a sense of limited and separate individual being in mind, life, and body. By this instrumentation, he acts as if he were a separate existence in the material universe. Nature has evolved certain habitual limiting conditions under which that action takes place. Self-identification of the soul with the ego is the means by which he induces the soul to consent to this action and accept these habitual limiting conditions. So as if it is a necessary step on the way. कि अभी तो भूल जा अपने आप को, अभी बस यही सब है. Mind, feeling, thought, body. Yeah. And while the identification lasts, there is a self-imprisonment in this habitual round and narrow action. And until it is transcended, there can be no free use by the soul of its individual living, much less a real self-exceeding. For this reason, an essential movement of the yoga, with again that disentanglement, stepping back, is to draw back from the outward ego sense by which we are identified with the action of mind, life, and body, and live inwardly in the soul. Mother, in one of the places, I think one of the first steps, talking about one of the first steps, she says that, who are you? So if you look back at your life, you will see stories have changed, people in your life keep changing, your ideas keep changing, your feelings keep changing. What is the one thing which doesn't change? That awareness which sees all this happening, that consciousness which sees all. See, she says, identify yourself as this consciousness. That drawing back from the outward ego sense by which we are identified with the action of mind, life, and body, and live inwardly in the soul. The liberation from an externalized ego sense is the first step towards the soul's freedom and mastery.
This with habitual, this word round also is interesting. The self-imprisonment, this habitual round and action, like अपने में ही है ना, later.
When I was reading, I knew that आपका ये वाला word, this, it came out, this round word. Yeah. The mechanical है ना, वही repetitive.
And yet it escapes me, I get bored so fast, and yet the monotony of my thoughts, my beliefs, my self-imprisoning limitations, that doesn't strike me. I mean, it could frustrate me, but it doesn't stand out.
I think for a long time, I am actually very happy with that, no? I feel okay, ठीक ही तो है life. And then slowly, if one is lucky in this lifetime, maybe later, that discontent comes. That ये हो क्या रहा है, I'm just repeating myself, same story again and again. And for a long time, that served me well. That's what I never wonder about a true aim in my life, for a very long time. मतलब ठीक ही तो है, सभी ये करते हैं, शादी करते हैं, जाते हैं सेलिब्रेशंस में, जाते हैं फंक्शंस में. That's what life is. We don't question for a long time. कुछ ना कुछ तो रस वहां से मिल रहा होगा, डिलाइट, ऐसा तो हो नहीं सकता.
Mm.
It's only when the delight ceases to come from there, then we begin to say that, okay, what is there more in life if not this? Then the question can come.
I think एक डिलाइट चाहे एक्शन से मिले ना मिले, बट एक compliance में भी there is that acceptance, ना?
Mm, mm,
Everybody was going, so I went. Everybody does, so I did. So
mm,
that also gives us a certain state of surprisingly, it
mm,
feels कि अंदर से ऐसा लगता है हाँ सब ठीक हो रहा है.
mm,
Like when you are not rocking the boat
mm,
and that superficial pleasantness
mm,
does give a sense of
mm.
ठीक से वो चल रहा है
ठीक
ना?
तो चल रहा है, yeah, yeah.
हाँ,
अब वो.
एक्चुअली में इट फील्स कि कुछ ठीक हो रहा है कि चलो सब लोग
हम्म,
हारमोनी में
हम्म,
डिस्को ठीक जा रहे हैं और सुबह 4 बजे आएंगे, बट देखो सब खुश होके जा रहे हैं.
हाँ बिल्कुल.
क्या कर रहे हैं वो थोड़ा सेकेंडरी है, बट
हम्म,
ये जो एक साथ के साथ में आई
हम्म,
थिंक रूट तो उसका यूनिटी ही होगा, है ना? वी आर ऑल वन, एक हारमोनी ही होगा.
हम्म,
देन कम्स द मैटर ऑफ संगति, है ना? हारमोनी टुवर्ड्स व्हाट, कंप्लायंस टुवर्ड्स व्हाट. अगर सिर झुका रहे हो कि हाँ जो तुम करोगे आई विल डू, टुवर्ड्स व्हाट, है ना? दैट्स द सेकेंड स्टेप. बट
हम्म, so maybe we can right now take a pause here, है ना? 6:33.
ओके,
We can again go through this paragraph again and take more things.
आई थिंक इसको यू कैन फिनिश. फ्रॉम माय एंड आई थिंक इट वाज
Yeah, I
डन.
think
यू
yeah, I also went until the here. Again, matlab, whenever we meet next time, again something may come up. But for me, right now, the takeaway, practical takeaway right now is just that disentanglement, to practice that disentanglement. है ना, क्योंकि हम पढ़ तो लेते हैं और पढ़ने से काफी बार ऐसे लगने लग जाता है कि अच्छा समझ में आ गया, हो गया, है ना, बट वी डोंट रियलाइज दैट बॉडीली दिस, प्रैक्टिकली दिस हैज टू बी डन, दिस वी हैव टू इन ईच मोमेंट एंड एक्शन. जैसे मूड आ रहा है, अगेन विटनेसिंग द मूड, नॉट बाइंग इन टू द डिक्टेट्स ऑफ मूड, and slowly that stability as consciousness gains more stature. So I become more and more that consciousness, true consciousness, and less the flow of mood and thoughts and opinions and ideas. So I think good takeaway. Yeah, maybe let's stop here.
ठीक है.